With the JSE Schools Challenge, where learners play with mock funds on the real stock exchange coming to a climax, Gary Poltney of leading stockbroking firm Sasfin Securities came to Parktown Boys to give our learners vital information. Mr. Poltney is Sasfin Securities Business Unit Head and Portfolio Manager, and a member of the South African Institute of Stockbrokers. Parktown has a strong tradition of doing well on the JSE Challenge, having won the competition outright, and having individual boys in the top 5 winners just about every year. Mr. Poltney told the rapt audience what it takes to be a successful stockbroker and what it takes to make money on the JSE. Listen carefully. You may hear some hot share tips.
If you've got money and you want to try and grow your money, to keep it in the bank, you're going to get very little if you compare to food inflation and all other types of costs that go with electricity and all those sort of things. You have to grow your money to try and beat inflation and to try and get a good return for retirement. It's nice to look at companies and try and look at the balance sheet and see what the net asset value of the company is relative to what the share price is. See if there's been a trend of long-term growth, because you don't want to buy a share that's going to be doing this up and down all over the place all the time. And I think if you want to be a stockbroker, well, it would be nice to have a background in accounting, and as I said, business economics as well. Economics does help. Me personally, I think the business economics side helps, because that's looking at why did the company make a success of what they're doing. And I think, yeah, you would need a matric, you would need to study. Nowadays, you'd probably have to get a BCom, and you'd have to also, another criteria is they look for you to do what they call as a CFA course, which is run by the London School of Economics, and that's quite an intense course on how to manage portfolios. But you do it while you are actually working. It's part-time sort of studying. But really, what it's all about, though, is who's got the best information. Who's got the information that they can utilize before anybody else gets the information. It's not insider trading necessarily, but it's just, if you're standing here and you see a truck going down the road every day of PP Cement, and you just see this huge stadium coming up, you would then realize that PP Cement have got quite a nice contract perhaps. And you can start looking into that share to see, is this going to be something good for them? Reading newspapers, read, not just Facebook and Twitter, unfortunately, but read magazines, financial magazines. And you don't have to understand everything in the magazine, but just try and understand what the journalist is saying. Why is he recommending that particular share? Is it because of good management? Is it because of lots of cash on the balance sheet? You take companies like MTN and Vodacom, everybody's got a cell phone, just about everybody. Some people have got more than one cell phone. And that must still be a growth area, because that is where you're getting all your information from as well. Everybody needs to eat, drink, not necessarily all need to smoke, but people do need food. And those food companies will carry on making money, or at least producing some sort of a profit. But they won't necessarily be your fast-growing companies either.
What would be a good growth for R1 million over a 6-month period, do you think, for a scholar?
I think still your shares like Sasol, which produce oil, gas to liquid to coal, or gas to liquid to oil, coal to gas to oil. Sasol will do well, I think. We are expecting that if this trouble continues, that investors from overseas will get a bit nervous and start selling their investments here and take the money back home. That makes the rand weaken, which means that any company that exports would benefit from a weaker rand. Okay, so most of your mining companies do export. SA Breweries earns money offshore as well. Aspen exports. It does exports to Brazil. It's got operations in Brazil, Uruguay, Mexico, Mauritius, India, and the UK. Trying to think on anything else. That British American Tobacco. If you consider that 310 million Chinese people smoke, and there's 310 million people in the USA alone, so it's like the whole of America smoking. British American Tobacco would also do well.
Our thanks again to Mr. Gary Poltney of Sasfin Securities.